So, staying on track of the International Earth Rotation Service System, there was a project, and it was pretty much an article posted by Harvard University, and it was provided by the NASA Astrophysics Data System, Astronomical Society of the Pacific. So the project was called Project Merit and the formation of the International Earth Rotation Service. So Project Merit was an international program to monitor Earth rotation and intercompare the techniques of observation and analysis. And what I am doing is basically just trying to let you all know who the International Earth Rotation Service System is and how they came about. And they also have something, of course, their preparations for the main campaign. And one of the things that you need to pay close attention to when talking about the International Earth Rotation Service is that they began with what they call the main campaign. So understand that this was at the forefront of the whole globe Earth rotation spherical mantra and brainwashing system. They are at the forefront of it. And so much to the point where they titled this the main campaign. So they had multiple workshops. The first one was reported and discussed at the first Merit Workshop in 1981. Again, they had one in 1984, and then they had one in 1983 as well. So, proposals for a new International Earth Rotation Service were prepared in 1986, which was the same year that Space Shuttle Columbia crashed. And of course, in previous videos, I spoke about them covering details about the Earth's limb. The Merit program was continued from 1984 until the new service formally started on 1988, January 1st. Over the decade of the accuracy of the Earth rotation parameters improved considerably. So this was a major initiative, like setting the stage for this rotational theory, basically. And over the decade, they stated that the accuracy of the Earth rotation parameters improved considerably. Now, Project Merit came up with ERPs, in which those was coined as Earth rotation parameters, and this is basically what they use to gauge rotation. Some of those ERPs, Earth rotational parameters, based on Project Merit and the formation of the IERS, were optical astrometry. And basically, that was the classical technique based on the observation by visual or photographic methods of the times and zenith distances of the transits of selected stars across the local meridian. So we all know that stars moving has nothing to do with the Earth moving. The second one was Doppler tracking of satellites. So this technique made use of the observation of the Doppler shifts in the radio emissions of the system of artificial satellites that was operated by the U.S. Also, they use satellite laser ranging. This technique uses the results from the analysis of the times and propagation of pulses of laser light to and from satellites that are fitted with retroflectors. Again, has nothing to do with any physical Earth. Now, it was made of the observations of the spherical satellite LEGIOS that was launched in 1976 for geodetic purposes. Now, there was a spherical satellite. Doesn't mean that the Earth is spherical. They also use the lunar laser ranging. In this case, the retro reflectors are on the moon, and so LLR is more technically demanding than SLR. We have no proof of any reflectors or anything being on the moon, and that also will not be able to gauge any rotation of the Earth. But they state that only a very few observatories have succeeded in making the regular observations over long periods that are needed for Earth rotation purposes. So the lunar laser ranging did not work either. Then they had connected element radio interferometry. So that technique uses observations of distant radio sources by a minimum of two fully steerable radio antennas. Again, irrelevant to Earth rotation. And last but not least, they had the very long baseline radio interferometry. And in that case, the signals from antennas were separated by much greater distances than is possible for CEI, which is the connected element radio interferometry. None of those things had anything to do with any video recording from the moon of the earth of any rotation, nothing about any motion or any devices that was being used to feel the speed that they say that the earth is rotating at. So where all of these numbers came from out of nowhere and stuff like that, they just came from nowhere basically. And they pretty much, in the reference stated for brevity, that they use the word transit to denote a time of transit, like TT, like I was telling you all, terrestrial time of the tide generating body. Now, whether sun or moon, or a time of transit of the points of heavens opposite to the tide generating body across the meridian of the place, and the word 6 o'clock to denote the middle instant of the interval of time. So they are talking about using, of course, the sun and the moon to gauge time. So the idea of Earth's crust being divided into moving and deforming plates was proposed by Wagner in 1915. However, proof of the concept would not arrive until the 1970s, when space-based technologies provided the needed evidence. So what it pertains to is horizontal plate motion relative to ITRF can be modeled as a rotation about a geocentric axis passing through a point on Earth's surface. Again, let me repeat that. Horizontal plate motion, meaning a plate such as the United States is a continental plate, such as Africa is a continental plate, can be modeled as a rotation about a geocentric axis passing through a point on Earth's surface. Even when you talk about the horizontal and vertical datums system that we have in the United States and that they have in different perspectives in other countries, they're also talking about the continental plates. Determining the location of the alleged Euler pole can be quantified through years of GNSS observation data at control stations distributed across a plate. Again, they are paying close attention to the continental plates. Has nothing to do with motion or rotation of a globe Earth. So the North American plate appears to rotate counterclockwise about a Euler pole, whose center is in the Pacific Ocean near equator. This horizontal motion is also called Eulerian motion, which was coined that by the NOAA in 2021. So locations further from the Euler pole appear to be rotating faster. Hence, doesn't that sound familiar? Things rotate faster at the equator. Again, understand that they are talking about plates. They are not talking about any rotation of a globe Earth. Now, last but not least, I wanted to also talk about the International Earth Rotation and Reference System Service. It was a survey that was done, and they were about redefining of the UTC. And if the definition is changed, then the name of UTC should change also. So, while the proposed redefinition will make only minor differences over the next few decades, it is a major conceptual change. And so it would decouple UTC from Earth rotation as represented by the UTI timescale, meaning they want to basically unpull the wool that the Earth isn't rotating and thereby break away from the original concept of universal time introduced by the IAU in 1925. So it sounds like the system is falling apart. And basically, some people are saying, they believe that it is poor practice to make changes that invalidate existing textbooks, especially at the conceptual level. So it's crazy that some people will literally put into public forums and out to federal documents stating that they believe that it will be poor practice, not because that by changing it would be in the correct manner, but by changing it will invalidate existing textbooks. And that's exactly what needs to happen because the textbooks are already invalid. So I find that just very crazy. But whatever is decided, they had a meeting in January in 2012, and they were saying, that it needed to be easily accessible source of information on current and historical values. And you all know that they do not want to go back on stuff like that again because they don't want to risk the humiliation that the earth is not rotating.